Welcome, beautiful people of all ages, shapes, and colors, to another episode of the Hit Your Free Throws podcast, where we encourage you to stick to the basics. I'm one of your hosts, TV, aka TV on Basketball, alongside my co-host, Jay, aka the Knockdown Jay. How's it going, my guy?
It's going good, man. We have a really interesting episode talking about our team's in-season tournament. I'm pretty hyped, but there's one thing that's kind of weighing me down. We'll get into it in a second.
Yeah, you know what? Let's get into it right now. If you guys haven't been following along with the Daily NBA Picks Challenge, Jay lost the first month of November, and we were still like kind of figuring out what we should do for his punishment, if we could have something for the show, but we have something better because we do have a Wednesday episode this week. So we're going to give Jay some time to get into the festive spirit and not just listen to some like Michael Bublé Christmas album, some Justin Bieber Christmas album. Jay's going to go over the next 2 days, try and get through the entirety of the Kids Bop Christmas album and give us a Anthony Fantano style review on the next episode. Jay's already dreading it. How you feeling, man?
56 songs, guys. 56 freaking songs. I'm going to try my best to like record some of this. I might, you know what? If I can, we'll see how tomorrow goes. If I have the time, we might even have to live stream this on the Hit Your Free Throws podcast page, just so you guys understand not only that I am a man of my word, but that I truly am in the festive spirit, TV says.
Yes, exactly. Look, that's just the first month. We had to come up with something with the festive spirit. It was either gonna be this or him drinking eggnog. So it was gonna be
I'm cool.
It was gonna
I'm
be
cool.
that way. So it's gonna be a tough one. Jay lost the month of November by legitimately one game, by the way. He lost by like one game, which is already tough, bro. So it is what it is. Right now, I'm off to a slow start. Jay's off to a hot start so far. So let's see if I'm able to take down December as well. But if not, I'm gonna have to do something crazy in the new year. I'm scared. If we're doing this for Jay's December one, I don't know what we have in store for January. So we'll have to wait and see. But we're gonna get a full-on review on Wednesday's show. But we do have another episode great today. As Jay said, we're talking in-season tournament. We're talking about some trade packages for some of our guys on our respective teams. And, of course, we have the draft and quiz to end off the show. But before we start that, we do have to plug our socials. We're going to follow our individual accounts at the KnockdownJ / the Routine Jumper and TV on Basketball. Those links will be found in the description down below. And in terms of the Hit Your Free Throws podcast, remember to follow us on TikTok and Instagram for the best daily NBA content. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you're on the YouTube. And if you're listening to any of our episodes on any of the podcast networks, Spotify, or Apple, remember to subscribe, leave a review, all that good stuff. We really do appreciate you all. Jay, are you ready to get into this?
Yeah, man, I'm hype about this. We talking about Bulls, so even if it's bad, it's good. You know?
Yeah, but we're gonna leave that until a bit later because tonight is the start of the in-season tournament. We have our quarterfinals set up. On the west side, we have the New Orleans Pelicans taking on the Sacramento Kings, which is happening tonight. Tomorrow night, we have the Phoenix Suns taking on the Los Angeles Lakers. And on the east side, we have the Boston Celtics versus the Indiana Pacers tonight. And tomorrow night, we have the Knicks versus the Bucks. We're basically going to give us like our quick predictions as to how this is going to go. This is not like the NBA playoffs, right, where it's like a 7-game series. So these breakdowns won't go as long as we do for the others. But we're going to see how this goes. We're going to look to the 4 matchups starting off tonight. Celtics versus Pacers. Jay, who do you have coming out of this and why?
I have the Celtics coming out of this one, even without Kristaps Porzingis. I think they said that Tyrese Halliburton is a game-time decision, which I think that he might end up playing. There's a high likelihood. I think that he will end up playing. Nothing has really indicated that he's just out, so I think it's really going to come down to the wire. But most importantly, I just think that the Celtics are built for a team like Indiana. Like I felt like Indiana is an up and down run, pace and space type of team that also does play relatively well in the half court. And Boston has one of the best half court and transition defenses in the league. Like if there was any way to slow down a guy like Tyrese Halliburton, you have 3 to 4 guys on the perimeter leading with Drew Holiday at the same position at point guard who all can take on that assignment. And then when you go down the list of guys in Indiana, when you go to the Ben Matherins, the Buddy Hills, the Miles Turners, like, is there anybody that you fear? Like, there's not a single other dude averaging above 18 points. I think there's another dude outside of Tyrese Halliburton averaging at least 18 points on this team. I think they have like 7 or 8 double-digit scores on their team, but none of them are averaging more than like 16 to 17 points a game, which means they don't have a secondary go-to option. The Celtics have like 3 or 4, depending on how you feel about certain players. Kristaps isn't playing. He'll be out, but I don't think it'll matter.
Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting game, especially because Kristaps Porzingis hasn't played the last few games, and it was just ruled out yesterday he wasn't going to play. For me in this game, I actually do have the Pacers winning, and it's nothing because I don't think the Celtics are a better team. I do think if it's a better team. If this is a playoff series, which to be honest can possibly be a first-round matchup come playoff time, so this could be a nice little preview of that. But when it comes to the Celtics, and especially their last run of games, I feel like there's just some games where they take the foot off the gas pedal. Maybe it's different because it's the in-season tournament, but they just kind of let some of the teams that they should beat kind of hang around a little bit longer. They lost to the Hornets like 2 weeks ago. They got absolutely mauled by the Magic. Yes, the Magic were one of the hottest teams in the league at the time, but they still lost to them pretty badly. They let the Hawks hang around for too long. They beat the Grizzlies by only 2 weeks ago. So it feels like the Celtics, and when you see them, when you watch these games, especially without Kristaps Porzingis, you know that their depth is a problem. Now, it's going to be hard enough to stop the top 5 guys anyway, even without Kristaps Porzingis. You still have Al Horford. You have the 2 J's. You have Drew Holiday. You got Derek White. But their depth could be an issue. And what the Pacers really do extremely well at is being able to just get shots off and get good, efficient shots. So their offense is already at one of the best of all time at 124.3, but they're going to keep shooting the ball at a high level. They're going to get some high efficiency offense, whether it's in the half court or in the fast break. So I feel like in a 1-game scenario, I would actually take the Pacers here, just because if they're able to dominate on the offensive end and still win the bench battle, I think it's a good chance they beat the Celtics team.
I don't really blame you. If in a 1-game scenario, anything could happen, obviously, right? And the team that plays this fast, this feels. If there was a team that felt like an NCAA Cinderella story, it would be a team like Indiana. Right. So yeah. This is David versus Goliath in a real kind of way. But I think that if there was any team to really make a run at it, Indiana has the play style and a superb offensive juggernaut in Tyrese Halliburton as the lead guy. This is going to be a fun game. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that Indiana gets blown out. If they do lose, it's going to be close, at least in my opinion.
That's 100%. Moving on to this next game, though, we have the Pelicans taking on the Kings. It looks like both teams are going to be healthy going into this game, except for maybe a few, role players here and there. But relatively, the core pieces are healthy. Jay, who do you have coming out and moving on to the next round here?
I'm not gonna lie. I'm a big Sacramento Kings guy, but I'm gonna go with the Pelicans here on this one. The Pelicans are getting all their guys back at a really good time, right? They just got CJ McCollum back in their most recent game, and he dropped like 20 points. Brandon Ingram has been playing relatively well. Zion Williamson, after a very struggling start to the NBA season, and me and you talked about this, Zion Williamson is a guy that I'm still relatively on the fence about. But one thing is true: after about 10 to 15 games of ramping up, this dude, he knows how to get into rhythm and really put an imprint on the game. He's been averaging about 24 points per game the last like 10 games.
Yes.
And the Pelicans look good, and they're getting healthy at a good time. My biggest thing with them is just going to be playing through Zion and the continuity aspect of having these 3 guys back on the floor together. It's still a limited sample size. But the biggest X factor also has to do with Zion in pertaining to the Kings. Who the hell on the Kings is guarding Zion Williamson?
Yes.
Yes, they have Harrison Barnes, but he's not really a prime defender for a guy with Zion and athleticism. And they have Keegan Murray, but Keegan Murray is coming off of an injury, dealing with like some nerve stuff going on his back, I believe, or something like that, where he was actually dealing with significant injury, related to his back. So you're dealing with a hampered Keegan Murray, who also is not necessarily an elite defender by any stretch of the imagination either. So I think the biggest thing is, in a game of this magnitude, who guards Zion Williamson? TV, remember, we have never seen Zion Williamson in a playoff caliber setting before. This is the closest thing to meaningful basketball we've seen Zion play since entering the league, because he's missed opportunity after opportunity to be able to not only play for those moments, but also play in those big moments, right? So this is a perfect opportunity for Zion Williamson to give us a taste of what it would look like for him to play on a big stage with real stakes. I know it's still early in the season, December, but again, elimination games in December. That's what makes things super interesting about the in-season tournament. Hopefully, Zion Williamson will show up and show out because this could be a really good indicator of what the future holds for the New Orleans Pelicans. To be honest,
people always say that if the Pelicans who had Zion Williamson available in that series versus the Phoenix Suns, that they would be able to take him down. Well, this is not quite the Phoenix Suns series, but this is the first kind of instance where we're going to see if this is the case. Because I'm going to agree with you here. I'm going to go with the Pelicans to win this game. The Kings, even for someone like Brandon Ingram, I just don't see, even if they try and stop Zion Williamson, try to get the ball out of their hands, the Pelicans still have, Brandon Ingram to deploy. They still have CJ McCollum to deploy. And then when you double or triple team Zion or whatever it is, because he is going to be the guy putting the most pressure on the rim, even like a fourth option like Jonas Valanciunas is coming back into the lineup, and he's going to play a key factor when on the offensive end, on the boards, and also trying to hold down Domantas Sabonis. The Pelicans, again, you said it perfectly. They're getting healthy at the perfect time, and not just that, like they just have like the roster to kind of go against the Kings, especially when they're not great defensively. Also, key fact, luckily for the Pelicans, Trey Murphy Jr. is back in the rotation as well. So they're getting all their guys back. I think this is a great sign to see, how they play in pressure-filled basketball in a one-game elimination sort of setting. I'm going to go with the Pelicans as well to win this game. Moving on to the next games, which are happening on Tuesday night. We have the New York Knicks taking on the Milwaukee Bucks. Jay, in this sort of matchup, we have Giannis taking on Julius Randle. Julius Randle, by the way, Player of the Week, Julius Randle. We dissed him on the show a lot, but man, this guy had a hell of a week. It pained me after doing that Toronto Raptors post game show, trying to talk up Julius Randle, but it is what it is. But Jay, in this matchup, Giannis versus Randle, the Knicks versus the Bucks, who do you got?
I got the Bucks, man. The Knicks have been beating up on bad teams all year. I mean, it literally took them blowing out the Charlotte Hornets to get the point differential to be able to make the in-season tournament in the first place. But if you look at everything around the Knicks in terms of taking on teams that are above 500, they're 2-7. It's not good. The last time they took on the Milwaukee Bucks, Jalen Brunson dropped 45 points and they still lost, right? So with that being the case, I like the fact that Julius Randle has been able to get his footing. Like you mentioned beforehand, we joke about him on the podcast plenty, but we know that he is an all-star caliber player, at least when he plays up to his potential. But I don't necessarily know if it's going to be enough against a Milwaukee Bucks team that has been playing relatively well. The synergy between Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard has started to slowly but surely gain traction. And although Chris Middleton has been playing not necessarily up to the standards that we expect from a former All-Star guy, the Bucks have been relatively well when Chris Middleton has played 20 minutes or less. So they're taking advantage of the time that he has been on the floor. I think that Milwaukee just has too much for him. Let's not even dive into the craziness that it has been Brook Lopez as of recent as well, who's turned back the clock a couple of times this season. So I think that the Bucks are just slowly but surely finding their footing. Adrian Griffin at the coaching position really needs a big win somewhere to really validate himself. I'm not saying that the in-season tournament is the one, but hey, it's at least a start to a young career for himself. This is something that I think he might want to come out with the win on. I think he's going to scheme up and get a dub.
Yeah, I'm again agree with you. The Milwaukee Bucks are gonna come out with the win. The people already saying, oh, this Giannis and Dame thing isn't really working out as easily as we hope. Well, if that was a narrative and the Bucks are, still 14-6 right now, third in the East, and they're still looking like they're figuring things out, I think the Bucks like their chances going forward in this sort of tournament as well. Like you mentioned, the Knicks, they do well against the bad teams. They beat my Raptors. We were a game under 500, and they do well in these sort of scenarios where if you have to beat a team, the Knicks are able to do it. But now going up against a juggernaut team like the Milwaukee Bucks, and you're not playing away from home, and you're playing away from home, it seems like a bad combination for them going into this game. I mean, Dame is gonna continue to do his thing. And at the end of the day, the Knicks at home don't have a stop for Giannis Antetokounmpo. That is what it is, plain and simple. I think it's gonna be again a relatively competitive game. If you look at all these matchups, I feel like there's a good chance that all of these are gonna be competitive in a one game series, and they're gonna put on their A game, especially like in this different field sort of setting where it's a regular season game, but you're gonna have the lights and the spotlights of the in-season tournament. They're gonna want to play harder, and I think both teams are gonna be up for a challenge. I just think that at the end of the day, if it gets close, give me Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo, which they've done time and time again this season. Give me the Bucks to win.
Yeah, I think that the Bucks are prime in position. I think they also need to make a real run because I think that it might not feel like it, but the Bucks, despite where they're positioned right now, and they went 4-0 to get here in terms of the in-season tournament as well. Like in terms of what they needed to do to get in this position, they did everything they were supposed to. But here's the thing, though, TV. I don't feel like we've talked about the Bucks as the regular season juggernaut that we've had them in the discussion for in years past. This is not a team that, despite having what we argue might be the best duo in the league, at least from a talent perspective, I don't feel like we felt that in the early portions of the season. I think they need to. I don't necessarily think they need to win the in-season tournament, but I think they need to put together a couple of very strong performances down the stretch of December, heading into the new year, to start to make us believe in this team as a championship caliber squad. We have the Boston Celtics, who we already spoke about, who look like a real championship caliber team. We have the Philadelphia 76ers, who look like at least a caliber team that could really make a run at the chip, especially because they have ammo to make another move if they want to do something this season. And there's a couple of disgruntled guys around the league, not going to point to anybody specific, but there's a couple of dudes that they might be able to take a swing at if they want to make that move. There's that positioning there. The Eastern Conference is not necessarily wide open, but the two teams at the top are sitting clearly above above the Milwaukee Bucks right now. And I think that the Bucks, if they want to still be in that conversation, they need to make a run to make us believers. Right now, it's dicey.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned it earlier before. Yes, they're getting these wins, but they're kind of getting a lot of these wins by the skin of their teeth. It's not like the point differential has been like super, super high. Like there's too many times, especially earlier on in the season, where they had to like go to Dame time a bit too often, in my opinion, for a team that's supposed to be one of the best in the league. So, a good showing in the in-season tournament, especially again with an extra added pressure to games in December, could really do good for their stock and have a lot of fans believing that they are one of those contenders once again. Last matchup over here in the quarterfinals, we have the Phoenix Suns taking on the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers, arguably one of the best teams who in this in-season tournament so far, also going 4-0, taking on Kevin Durant and the Phoenix Suns. KD versus LeBron, you love to see it. Jay, who do you have winning this matchup?
I'm gonna keep it a bean, bro. I got Braun and the Lakers, and I didn't think that I would be super huge on the Lakers this season, and I still am a little skeptical about them. But despite the injuries, they've been able to hold on pretty good. I mean, Gabe Vincent literally has only played 4 games for them, and they've still been decent. Now, granted, I think they're 7th in the Western Conference right now, but in terms of the in-season tournament, they've been one of the better teams in the league. And something else that's notable, I don't think they're at home for this, but they've been one of the best home teams in the NBA so far this year. They're playing with a lot of fire, playing with a lot of passion. There's something else that needs to be brought up, TV, that I don't necessarily know if we're going to go in depth on in this podcast, but LeBron James made it clear that with the recent announcement of Bronny James being cleared to be able to play games with USC, that there might be a handful of games this season that LeBron misses due to Bronny having games on the same day as the Lakers. And he said I think the exact phrase was family first, right? This idea that he already let the organization know that he would be prioritizing seeing his son play over being there for games. That does make games like these in the in-season tournament matter a lot more, right? Because they already count towards your regular season record, number one.
Yeah.
But number two, now the value of every single victory becomes that much more important because there are going to be a handful of games that LeBron James will miss because there's actually a handful of games just in the month of December where they fall into very bad contention between when the Lakers play and when USC plays. There's a lot of overlap. over the next couple of weeks or so. Not a ton, but a good amount. When talking about an 82 game regular season. So I think that LeBron James, with the enthusiasm he's had around the in-season tournament, the fact that he now knows or has now made it clear that he could be missing a decent amount of time throughout throughout this year, games like these matter a lot more, and I think he's going to play up to the standards.
Yeah, I mean, he's been talking about, like you mentioned, he's been talking about this like in-season tournament since the inception of it, and now that you have a marquee matchup here against Kevin Durant, I see him playing at his absolute best. The Lakers, he just feels like someone who just wants to be part of that, that environment, being in the top four, being in Vegas, being part of this whole spectacle, which is the in-season tournament. It feels like LeBron wants to be a part of it, and especially being like the inaugural in-season tournament, he wants to like try and go out and try to win it to add to his resume. Sure, it doesn't have any like value right now, but it's like, it's something that hopefully the league is going to start to build up. The Suns are going to be a formidable matchup, but they've been kind of struggling recently. I'm going to be putting on my vlog with the Raptors versus Suns game tomorrow night, but they lost to the Toronto Raptors the other night. They lost to the Denver Nuggets. They barely squeaked by the Grizzlies. I mean, there's just like so much turnover within this Phoenix Suns roster with injuries, with the fact that they haven't even got Bradley Beal in the same lineup as these two yet, that they're still trying to figure a lot of things out. KD just coming back from injury as well. And I think that the Lakers all are in this agreement that this is something they want to strive for, and they're going to like have that extra motivation, that extra oomph to try and like push forward. I think it's going to be a very close game. This is like my most anticipated matchup of the in-season tournament out of the four. So yeah, I think I'm going to go with the Lakers. It's important. That's an interesting point you make about, the whole Bronny situation as well with USC. You're going to need to take advantage of these LeBron games. And like you mentioned, if he's going to miss a couple here and there for that, how this team plays up without LeBron. It's not very pretty. So it's going to be tough here and there, especially if he misses out like on a marquee matchup, say versus, I haven't really checked out the standings, but if they go up against a team like the Thunder or the Denver Nuggets, like missing, like if he misses like one of those type of games, it's going to be even like tougher for them to kind of like make up. So I think they're going to try and win like this in-season tournament as a whole. And I think that LeBron again has that extra motivation to try and be the first winner of this sort of tournament in order to push forward.
I'm hype about this matchup. I think of all of them, this is one of the more intriguing ones because you also have to look at the matchup specifically between LeBron James and Kevin Durant, right? These guys have matched up a ton. I think they've actually matched up like what? I think it's like 23 times or something like that. I looked up, and I think LeBron James has the upper hand like by a mile. I think it's like 16-7 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say this matchup is personal by any means, but it's two of the best players in the NBA. Two of the best players in NBA history, two future Hall of Famers going at it for a chance to advance in the inaugural in-season tournament, right? There's going to be some weight attached to the fact that whoever it is that not only wins the in-season tournament, but also ends up being the in-season tournament MVP, there's going to be a little bit of weight behind it because of that inaugural tag, similar to when the Kobe Bryant Award was attached to being the new face of the All-Star game. It's something about being the first, right, to win that award that matters almost as much as just the mere fact of winning the award in general, right? So it's gonna be really interesting. That's a matchup in itself that could be a ton of fun to watch.
Yeah, 100%. Before we move on to the next topic, Jay, give me your finals. Give me who you think is going to win this in-season tournament.
All right. So based off what I said, that would mean that the Celtics would be taking on the Bucks. Haha, very ironic because that a lot of people's Eastern Conference Finals before the season started. And that would be the Lakers versus the Pelicans. Also hilarious because it feels like every time the Pelicans control the Lakers' destiny, the Lakers regress their destiny. So very interesting storylines that play a case in there. But I'm going to take the Boston Celtics to take down the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah.
In the Drew Holiday revenge game.
Yes, sir.
Because that's what I think it's going to be. And they advance. And then I am going to take. The NBA script is cooking, boy. And I'm going to take the Los Angeles Lakers to take down the New Orleans Pelicans in a throwback mid-'80s early 90s clash between the Boston Celtics and the Los Angeles Lakers in the in-season tournament finals. And I'm taking the Boston Celtics to win the whole dang thing, man.
I have the exact same matchup when I'm looking at all of this, but I think if they want to put this title on anyone, the first in-season tournament winner, they're gonna put it to a glorious king. I think we're gonna have the Lakers come out on top. I don't know. I feel like just another thing to add to the LeBron resume, and I think there's gonna be like a big spectacle over here. They're gonna both play at a high level, but in terms of in a one-game scenario, and in that situation, I'm gonna trust LeBron in this one. So I'm gonna have the same result as you coming from those final two games, but then in the finals, I'm gonna have the Lakers over the Celtics. Let us know down below what you guys think. Who do you think is gonna win the season tournament, and how excited are you? Because I'm actually pretty hyped. I want to see like the atmosphere around this. Are they gonna do the thing with the fans where they have the same T-shirts and stuff like that? Who knows? But we're gonna have to see over these next few days, and also the vibe in Vegas because this whole in-season tournament is gonna cap off this weekend, so should be very interesting to watch. Moving on to the next topic, and it's about both of our teams, Jay. And you can look at this in a positive way or in a negative way, but both of our teams have been in a lot of trade rumors, and I mean a lot. And especially these four guys we're going to talk about: OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, Zach LaVine, and DeMar DeRozan feel like they have been in the center of trade packages, trade rumors over the past, I would say, 3 months. Maybe even extend longer to 6 months, because at this point, people thought that our teams would blow everything up, and we are still basically in the same situation as we were the year prior. So, in this segment, I'm going to be presenting. We're going to present for the both of us a trade package for each of those four players, and we're going to try and determine whether the Bulls / the Raptors should or will do this trade. All right. We're going to start off with your Chicago boys, Jay, and I'm going to start off with DeMar DeRozan. Here's a trade package for your Bulls. The New York Knicks go out and acquire DeMar DeRozan and Andre Drummond in exchange for Evan Fournier, Isaiah Hartenstein, a 2024 protected first-round pick from the Dallas Mavericks, and a 2024 protected first-round pick via the Washington Wizards. Would you take this trade?
The man who is ungoogleable is in the trade? Oh, man, that's tough. I think the only thing that's enticing about that transaction is the two 2024 overall picks from Dallas and Washington, right? But you said the Washington pick is protected?
It's probably going to be like lottery protected, which means that the Knicks are probably going to get the pick.
Yeah, I mean, that pretty much means it's going to end up being advanced. So, yeah. Basically, what that would end up meaning is if it's lottery protected, that means it would get pushed to 2025 in terms of it actually being accepted by the Bulls if they're to get it. More than likely, at least that's my understanding. And that Dallas pick doesn't sound that good either because it's a 2024 pick. But that's putting a lot of stock in Dallas not being too good.
But also DeMar DeRozan is also in a free agent this summer. Do you want to lose him for nothing? That sort of idea. So it's kind of tough.
True. I understand that. I just also think that, I don't know. I think that the Bulls are swinging for the fences, and I don't know if New York is the team. I think New York has the chops to make a good enough trade package, and maybe they start out as light as you did because of the fact that the Bulls are kind of in a backed up corner. But I don't think in this stage of the game that the Bulls are going to settle for something as low as that right now. That's not even me being a biased Bulls fan. I just think that they genuinely believe that if they're going to jump off this ship, they're going to do it in style. I don't know who tricked them into that delusion, but I think that they believe that if they're going to come up off these all-star caliber players, they're going to do it getting some significant capital back, not necessarily a bunch of, young talent and role players, but they're going to get back some kind of capital that feels comparable, which means I think they're going to play hardball to begin. And this is not really a hardball transaction.
Yeah, these are some trades I've just been gathering around different websites like Fadeaway World, like Clutch Points, to see what it seems like realistic at this point. But in terms of this trade, it's not the worst in the world, But also, I agree. I think the Bulls can do better for DeMar DeRozan. I think a team like the Lakers, you kind of covet their younger pieces a bit more. Maybe like a Scottie Pippen Jr., maybe like a Jalen Hood Shafino sort of type of thing. Maybe like that as like a long-term prospect. Would you do this trade if you replaced Hardenstein with like a Emmanuel Quickly? Maybe would you do that type of trade?
I think that would change things a lot. I think maybe your only worry on that one is just the fact that is there any overlap with a guy like Kobe White, who they seem to
True.
have still real interest in? But again, I think the biggest thing here's the truth. The biggest thing and the most important thing for the Chicago Bulls is that they need to pick a direction. And if the direction is leaning into the rebuild, that means nobody is safe. That means that BPA, best player available, matters much more than whether or not there's continuity within your roster, whether or not you're disrupting the apple cart. As far as I'm concerned, even someone as high on their list as Patrick Williams should not be untouchable right now. I don't think there should be any version of the Chicago Bulls where they feel as though nobody's untouchable. I keep reading news about them saying that, according to Casey Johnson, who is a very reputable source for the Chicago Bulls, has mentioned that Billy Donovan's job is not in jeopardy. I don't understand. I'm not really sure. I don't think you go into any version of this next setup that is the Chicago Bulls and Billy Donovan is somehow supposed to be the catalyst of it. Name a Billy Donovan team that he's like revived that didn't come with all-star caliber talent. Like anytime that Billy Donovan has had a good season in the NBA, he has had multiple multi-time all-stars at the helm and a handful of guys playing out of their mind. Obviously, date back to Oklahoma City, but also even with the 1 year that we made the playoffs, everybody's making Lonzo Ball seem like a god that we're missing out on, and that's the reason why everything's gone to hell for Chicago. He played an unprecedentedly well season for not only his standards, but at the point guard position. Like that dude was a top 10 two-way player at the point guard position.
Yeah.
Like that's an unprecedented season. Like Billy Donovan's not safe. Nobody should be safe, which means that I feel like they're gonna have high standards. I don't know, bro. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough situation for the Bulls to be in. Everything looks so good that one season. That one season, they were the number one seed. Lonzo had this team running and gunning. It looked all peaches and daisies for the Chicago Bulls, and everything has kind of gone downhill. Like since the injury, it's gone worse and worse and worse. But yeah, I think we're both in agreement. The Bulls can do better than this pick. But if at the end of the day, DeMar DeRozan is a unrestricted free agent at the end of the year, so. Is this a trade I wouldn't be surprised if they did? No, but I think there's something better out there. All right, man, let's move to your boy Zach LaVine. Here's a trade package I got for you. And it includes the Los Angeles Lakers. We have LaVine, Andre Drummond. Yes, Andre Drummond is here twice. And Julian Phelps in exchange for D'Angelo Russell, Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves, and their 2029 pick unprotected.
I think Lake on this one. I feel like they have to give up a lot. Is Alex Caruso in this exchange?
No, he is not.
Yeah. See, I wanted to make sure that I heard that correct. That's the other thing. I don't think that the Lakers are going to give up, especially on Austin Reeves. I don't think that they're going to give up on Austin Reeves. I also don't believe that this Lakers team can really afford to give up on any of the depth they've actually acquired so far. Mm-hmm. And if they're going to do it, it's going to need to convert a lot of top tier talent to make up for it. And I do think that Zach LaVine is an elite number 3 option, arguably number 2 on a good day when it's needed. And Andre Drummond is serviceable at the center position. Obviously, that would give AD a real chance to play power forward. Granted, we know that's not the most optimal lineup for the Lakers, but it's something that satisfies Anthony Davis. Mm-hmm. But I wonder if they're just giving up too much for Zach LaVine in that exchange. Now, if somewhere in there you give me Alex Caruso as a part of it, maybe the Lakers pick up the phone. But I think that without Alex Caruso in the exchange, it is still a little bit limiting in what they're able to do moving forward. And I don't know if D'Angelo Russell being the most notable name outside of Austin Reeves is enough to covet this kind of trade. If I'm the Lakers, maybe I'm wrong, but if I'm the Lakers, I think that's a little too much.
Yeah, but if you're the Bulls, were you taking this 100%?
I think if I'm the Bulls, I'm running with it because I think the main thing is when you look at the picks that the Lakers have, they're a little bit more enticing. They feel a little bit more likely to convey. Austin Reeves is a guy that I think you really can work with in terms of not necessarily building around, because I don't think you build the ground up around Austin Reeves in Chicago. But I think he's a player that you can go get your guy, and Austin Reeves fits perfectly around. A la in the preseason, before Victor Wembanyama, or actually after Victor Wembanyama was drafted by the San Antonio Spurs, we came on this very podcast and said the San Antonio Spurs should go after a guy like Austin Reeves because he would be a perfect ball handler for this team that doesn't really have much ball handling or individual shot creation outside of what would be Victor Wembanyama and then maybe Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson, who are all good, but not necessarily guards per se. Well, I guess Devin Vassell is, but in terms of their backcourt, they're very light on shot creation, right? So Austin Reeves would be a perfect malleable piece in all of that. That would work very similarly to the Chicago Bulls, who I think are on a one-way ticket to try to Cooper Flag 2 seasons from now. To be honest.
So yeah, I kind of agree with you there. I wouldn't maybe do this if I'm the Lakers unless Alex Caruso is part of the deal, because you do want to recuperate some sort of depth for a future playoff run. But if I'm the Bulls and this is the package I'm getting back for Zach LaVine, someone who looks like already he's checked out of the Bulls organization, he's like wanting to leave, I would do this in a heartbeat. Just because you have the 2029 pick of the Lakers, which is extremely valuable, knowing what the team could possibly look like past LeBron. And then you're getting some of the young talent. You have some guys that could potentially look for more assets down the line. I think this is a no-brainer for Chicago Bulls if this is being offered. I just think for the Lakers, like you mentioned, I just think that there should be a bit more coming back. Andre Drummond's a nice, I guess, second centerpiece. I don't know. It's a really weird over there. But getting Zach LaVine for this, you would expect maybe a little bit more and like some more depth as well. So I do agree with you there. They could do better. The Lakers could probably get better, but the Bulls, they should go for this 100%.
Yeah.
Now let's move on to these Raptor guys. I want to let's go with the Siakam trade, because a trade between the Raptors and the Atlanta Hawks has been kind of brewing since the summer of 2023. So Jay, if you're the Toronto Raptors, would you accept for an expiring Pascal Siakam, DeAndre Hunter, Bogdan Bogdanovic, and a 2028 unprotected first-round pick?
Yeah, I think you do. They need shooting. Bogdan gives them that, especially when he's on. They need more shot creation at the wing position. DeAndre Hunter gives you that, especially if you're able to empower him a little bit more. He literally fits the mold of what the Toronto Raptors are trying to do. Out of all the guys in this exchange, he actually might be the perfect fit where he can play next to a guy like Scotty Barnes, but still fit the mold of what they want to do. He's like as close to like Otto Porter without being automatic from three as he gets in the league right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the other thing too is I don't think Toronto wants to pay Pascal, bro. Which means that if the league understands that they don't want to pay Pascal, but Pascal does not necessarily want to leave because he knows that the Raptors can offer him the most amount of money, especially if he qualifies for All-NBA again this year, which I don't necessarily know if he will, but there's a real chance nonetheless.
Yeah.
That'll make it even harder on the Toronto Raptors from a financial standpoint not to throw him the bag if he's coming off another All-NBA season, because didn't he just make All-NBA last year as well?
It's 2 years ago, because last
2 seasons ago, right?
2 seasons ago, yeah.
Yeah. So with that being the case, that limbo lessens his price, but also further incentivizes them to take any kind of trade that looks like they're going to get positive value. And I would argue that in this case, as a team that desperately needs shooting and seems to be leaning deeper into the wings everywhere philosophy,
Yeah.
this is, I don't want to say the closest version of that kind of trade you can get, but it's a pretty damn good version of it. I mean, it's better than some of the stuff that I've seen that involve like the Philadelphia 76ers, for example,
Yeah.
where their trade packages tend to focus more on untapped potential or players that don't necessarily play as much, a la like a Paul Reed, who I like but doesn't get a lot of PT, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think a trade with Atlanta, he's been rumored to Atlanta for a while too.
Yeah.
Like that's been in the works for a while, dating back to when John Collins was like the main trade chip. So I mean, like this has been something that's been brewing for a while. Maybe Atlanta finally picks up the phone.
If I'm the Raptors at this point, I'm doing this trade. Because not even for the DeAndre Hunter piece, I think that Bogdan Bogdanovic is going to be just a great, you know, kind of guy to have around like a Scotty Barnes, even someone to have around Grady Dick. Grady Dick is going to be the future of like maybe shooting guard or just like one of the guards of this team going into the future. And he struggled a lot from three. Bogdan is a professional. He knows how to do these. He knows like he's one of the best shooters of the basketball in the league. I think he's going to be great for Grady's confidence. That 2028 pick seems like pretty juicy down the line. Who knows what the Hawks are going to look like in 2028? When you have Siakam, and it's clear that him and Scotty are just not going to be the duo that's going to take you over the hump again. You got to get Masai can't be just doing this where we let someone like Van Vliet go for nothing. We let Kyle Lowry go for a sign and trade. We can't let this happening over and over again. Just like the Bulls, the Raptors have to pick a direction. Siakam at some point, he's one of the guys who just kind of had it's past his expiry date. He's a great player. I think he could be a great player elsewhere. I still think he's like a top 25 type of guy. I just don't think it's just going to be with the Raptors anymore. And Scotty Barnes looked like he's like taking the mantle as the number one guy there. It's going to be his team pretty soon. And Siakam, as more and more guys try to figure out their role, Siakam still looks more and more confused as to what he's supposed to be doing out there. So I'm taking this trade. If you asked me in the summer, I wouldn't like it. But now, as we're getting into closer and closer to that time that we're gonna have to re-sign Pascal Siakam, I'm taking this trade.
I think the biggest thing that needs to be understood for both of these teams is that leaning into a direction doesn't necessarily mean that you're making the right decision, but it does mean that you're finally committing to a pathway. And that's something that fans can get behind. If you're going to lean into Scotty Barnes being the lead option, ups and downs and all that has been this season for him, because there's been weeks like when we initially opened up the season where he looks like the best player to come out of his draft class, and other games where you kind of wonder what his long-term impact is. But if that's what you're willing to sign up for and understand that the upside of him could be an all-star, a multi-time all-star caliber player, lean into that and give him the reins instead of spoon feeding him games here and there to be the guy next to a guy in Pascal Siakam who is still played at a sustainable all NBA caliber level, or at least all-star caliber level, and is going to require that kind of attention while on a team like the Toronto Raptors that don't necessarily have a defined superstar outside of him right now. Same thing for the Chicago Bulls. If you're going to lean into Patrick Williams is untouchable, that means anybody that's not on a Patrick Williams timeline should not be. And then that being the case, Andre Drummond, Alex Caruso, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan,
Yeah.
they all are guys that should be on the trade block, and it should be without question. I think Pascal Siakam, out of all of these guys, actually, Pascal Siakam might be the one guy who needs to get traded the most because he stands directly in the pathway of the guy that you want to take the mantle.
Yeah.
Pascal Siakam stands directly front and center of Scotty Barnes, the very guy that you want to give the key to the franchise to. So out of all of these guys that we're talking about, he actually is the guy who needs to be on the block more than anybody, whether he's trying to re-up on some money or not. That's the thing. That's a struggle by itself. Toronto has made a very rough case for themselves. They seem like a team that would be well known for taking care of their guys and stuff, right?
Yeah.
They let two guys walk in free agency for nothing. They're staring at two other guys in Pascal and OG Anunoby, who we'll get to, who may be able to do a similar thing. We haven't even talked about the fact that Gary Trent Jr.'s extension never happened.
He just picked up his player option. That's all that happened. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So this is a team that's doesn't have a lot moving forward in terms of long-term equity. If it's any time to fire sale, make your play. And Pascal Siakam needs to be at the front of the list.
Yeah. I mean, the only other way we do this is if the Raptors just end up signing him to the extension and maybe trading him for more assets down the line. But I don't even trust that with the Toronto Raptors. You're asking for a lot of things to go your way with an unrestricted free agent and trying to trade away like a $50 million contract, which doesn't sound like the best idea going forward. So I think, you know what, just to even avoid that entire headache, maybe it is time just to part with Pascal. Absolute legend for the franchise. I can't say anything about that, but it may be time to give that up. All right, man. Final guy on the trade block, OG Anunoby. And we talked about his fit on the Kings being the perfect fit there. Well, here's a trade with the Kings that we have. The Sacramento Kings receive OG Anunoby and Thaddeus Young in exchange for Harrison Barnes, Keegan Murray, a 2027 first-round pick, and a 2029 first-round pick. Now, mind you, the Sacramento Kings traded away Tyrese Halliburton in exchange for an expiring Domantas Sabonis. So, like 2 years away, Domantas Sabonis. So, I don't think this is too far in the realm of possibility, but what do you think? Should the Raptors take this?
It's funny that we had this conversation about them recently in terms of OG Anunoby being a perfect fit for a team like this. And it's also funny that you throw Keegan Murray in here because I think there was a recent comment under our last clip that related to the idea of Keegan Murray possibly having to be in the trade for the Sacramento Kings to actually even consider it. So now that we're here, I think if you're Toronto, you do take it.
Yeah.
But I think if you're the Sacramento Kings, does the Keegan Murray part of it give you cause to pause? Like, I think that's the biggest question.
Well, I think it's more of like the fact, like, isn't there going to be just more redundancy in this roster then? I feel like if you like have OG Anunoby in the starting lineup, that like having Keegan Murray there as well, I don't know. I just don't think the fit is going to be fantastic where you have like two guys kind of asked to do similar roles as and both who can't really dribble the basketball, let's be completely honest.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, is that any different from having Harrison Barnes ahead of Keegan Murray in the rotation necessarily?
It's just OG Anunoby for me is like super Harrison Barnes, where you have someone who's an all-world defender, which is someone the Kings need, which is like, again, we talked about this a lot in last week's show. Having someone just to even just get the number one guys to relieve the pressure off of De'Aaron Fox and like other guards on their roster is key. And also someone who is not like a negative, like you're not losing the Harrison Barnes shooting aspect. It's probably around the same or slightly better if you're looking at this year in particular. So I think with that in mind and the fact that you have the team around you, I think they're confident enough they're going to be able to re-sign OG. To be honest, I think both teams do this. I'm not even trying to be biased over here, but I think that if Keegan Murray is the determining factor, then I don't think that the Sacramento Kings are serious into becoming a real contender. Keegan Murray's a good player. He's someone who can be, a good piece for another team. I just don't think that when you have him and OG in the lineup, I don't think like if you're able to get someone who fits your roster like OG Anunoby, I don't think that Keegan Murray should be the difference as to as to like making this trade happen or not.
I think you make a good point there in terms of this kind of trade being a determining factor on whether or not the Kings are ready to move up their timeline. We have to remember the Kings just made the playoffs for the first time in a grip, like a really long time.
Yes.
So you do have to wonder whether or not the Sacramento Kings feel comfortable enough to move off of a young developing asset in only his second year in Keegan Murray this early, when you've seen early developments that he can be a 37 to 40% three-point shooter on relatively solid usage and be a guy that does not necessarily need the basketball. Now, obviously, you could say you have a ready and well-made product in OG Anunoby, but he also acts as an expiring contract, meaning you're going to have to pay him. He might be worth the money. He's definitely a much better defender than Keegan Murray. I think the argument on the opposite end of your Sacramento is we're hoping to in Sacramento develop Keegan Murray into that lead wing defender that can then take the mantle away from Harrison Barnes and develop into that 3-and-D wing that we've kind of always needed in order to fully actualize this team. So it's weird because OG Anunoby is exactly who you need from a skill set standpoint, but you have to pay him. Keegan Murray is, in theory, the guy you want to hopefully become, but it's banking on something that's not necessarily a surefire thing.
Yeah, but I mean, like, that's the thing too, and I think that's what holds back some teams sometimes: the potential, the ability to say, you know what, maybe this guy could be this in 1 or 2 years. Why go with that when you have already an established product there, and OG Anunoby, who has proven to be one of the best defenders in the league already? So someone who's like worked on his game to the point where he's become a reliable 3-point shooter from the wing position. This guy's like one of the most valuable 3-and-D wings for a reason. There's a reason why last year when the Raptors actually had more value for him, wanted multiple, like 3 or 4 first-round picks, and they were able to get some teams to bite even though they didn't make the trade. There's reasons why teams want this, because this is like, they always try to draft these guys in the draft hoping, you know what, this is like going to be our 3-and-D guy. This is going to be like our 3rd/4th option. Those don't really turn out to be that way. OG Anunoby is the product that a lot of teams look for in the draft, look for in free agency, and always have, like, I feel like, swing and miss. They don't, like, it's like hard to find these guys even though they have that type of build or that type of prototype. But OG Anunoby is the finished product. And yes, you're gonna have to pay him, but you're gonna have to pay Keegan Murray eventually. And again, like, that's something that's gonna have to come down the line, and you still don't know whether that's gonna be, if he's gonna be the player that you need going forward. Get with someone that you need. You have to remember too, Sabonis is entering his 30s pretty soon. You don't want to be wasting like him and like De'Aaron Year's best primes together.
True.
So getting OG Anunoby fits their timeline, fits perfectly. I think that, again, would I be worried if I'm a Kings fan? Yes, by trading away Keegan Murray, but that shouldn't be the determining factor whether you make this trade or not.
I think you make a really good point. I think the last thing to put a bow in my side of like the take is just the fact that when it comes to OG Anunoby, the other big thing with him being an expiring contract is also whether or not he is going to commit to re-signing. Now, something that plays in the Sacramento Kings' favor is name the team on the market that's going to be able to give him the kind of money that he should be able to garner with his skill set, that will also be able to potentially give him the kind of role he's been looking for, something that's been noted a lot as well, right? The only team that comes to mind that could have both of those things is Philadelphia. Yeah, Philadelphia.
That's it. Yeah. I don't know.
In that circumstance, I don't know if maybe that's enough. Still stay in the Eastern Conference. You would definitely be probably the second primary ball handler outside of Tyrese Maxey, but I don't know necessarily. Sacramento, they are a team. Philly seems like a team that can implode any day that Joel Embiid genuinely believes their team is no longer good enough to win a championship, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to Sacramento, who is still playing with relatively low stakes, despite the fact that we believe that they are a playoff caliber team now. So it's tricky. I think that this is a good trade in retrospect, and I'm only playing devil's advocate because I think it's really interesting with OG, because OG, of all the guys that we've discussed, I think OG might actually be the best trade asset. He 100%. might not necessarily be the most talented trade asset of the group. You can make an argument he might even be like 3rd or 4th out of the 4 guys we've discussed.
Yeah.
But in terms of what his overall skill set provides, he might be the most valuable of the 4 guys that we've talked about.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So that changes the conversation a little bit around him when you also factor in that of all the 4 guys we talked about, him being an expiring contract means the most because he's also the youngest, which means that his next contract might not necessarily be the last, but it's going to be the one that he is looking to make the most money from.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's interesting, but I think it's a good place to go. I think it is. I think Sacramento and Indiana are the two places that I've looked at if I'm OG Anunoby, if I'm looking to get in the OG Anunoby sweepstakes, that would be really interesting places for a guy like that to step in and be able to play and have an immediate impact.
I like that. I like the Pacers idea a lot. I really do. So, I mean, we might have to look through more of these because I have a feeling that these are going to start to ramp up, especially with the December 15th thing where people are more eligible
Yeah,
going into
yeah.
the year. January 15th as well. There's even more people eligible to be traded. So we're gonna
Mm.
have to wait and see. But these guys and trade rumors, it's gonna be a long time. And I have a feeling that none of these guys, I'm not gonna say like none of these guys, but a good chunk of these guys are not gonna be with their team come the February trade deadline. So we're gonna have to wait and see how all of that shapes out. But yeah, what do you think about these trades? W or L? Let us know down below. If you're the Bulls, if you're the Raptors, would you do these trades? Let us know down below. Jay, it is time for the moment of the week, a segment where we try to show light on some things that we weren't able to talk about in this podcast, but we want to give them a quick little bit of shine over here. So Jay, what is your TV and Jay's podcast moment of the week?
My moment of the week is not necessarily a net positive, but it just goes to put a little bit of perspective around the Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks went on a 30-0 run against the Oklahoma City Thunder in their most recent game and still found themselves in the loss column. They held Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to less than 20 points. Luka Doncic had 36, 15, and 18 with 2 steals and 2 blocks. Like, the Dallas Mavericks had 12 blocks in this game to the Oklahoma City Thunder, who only had 5.
Yeah.
Everything spells out the kind of game where the Dallas Mavericks should have had some like Cinderella victory. Yet the Oklahoma City Thunder were able to hold on. Now the question is that more telling of the Dallas Mavericks, who also got a really amazing game from Derek Lively, who had 20 and 16 and was 9 for 9 from the field.
Blocks.
Right? Or is that more indicative of just how much the Oklahoma City Thunder have seemed to grow as a team that could really be viable in the postseason, right? Because we have to put this in perspective. This matchup, this is something that we could see. Oklahoma City versus the Dallas Mavericks is a matchup we could potentially see. This is literally what is it? The Oklahoma City Thunder are second in the Western Conference. The Dallas Mavericks are sixth, right? So positioning wise, obviously Dallas would have to be seventh, or Oklahoma City would have to be third. But obviously, there's margin for error where this could be a potential first round matchup. And many would say that the Mavericks, from a standpoint, might be the better team walking in with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. But from a depth standpoint, and now the individual growth of guys like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who was able to impact the game without scoring 20 plus by having 9 assists and 5 steals, right? The fact that Chet Holmgren was able to have 11 and 11 while having 4 of the team's 5 blocks on the game. The fact that they were able to give the reins over to Jalen Williams to be their leading scorer with 23 points and 5 rebounds, 5 assists, right? These things open up a lot in terms of our perspective of Oklahoma City as a viable playoff team. So I don't know if this is more telling about Dallas or more telling about Oklahoma City, but I thought that this matchup was very indicative of something that could be important down the line, because not only is this a matchup that we could end up seeing, but it's very important to note that we have never seen the Oklahoma City Thunder in this iteration in the postseason. In high stakes games, being able to close out games like these, it's the biggest difference between winning a 7-game series and losing it. So not even though this game didn't necessarily have the kind of stakes that a 7-game series is going to have, this is a good sign for a young Thunder team that is looking to be a lot better than most of us projected before the season started.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on the latter. I think this is just a showing of like how much the Thunder have grown. Even though they're a super young team, they've literally everything. I've never seen a 30-0 run before.
Never.
I've never seen a 30-0 run before. It's not like some like 28-7 or something like that. But this is like a 30-0. Like you have 30 unanswered points. So this is like a lot of things just like not going your way and everything start to fall at the right time for the other team. The fact that you're able to bounce back from such like crazy circumstances and able to pull out this game. Mind you, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander hit a clutch basket when it was impossible for him to hit shots in this game, like with like 30 seconds left to like absolutely seal the deal for the Thunder. So I think it's just a testament to how much they've grown, how much they have confidence in themselves, and the fact that they have a freaking absolute superstar in Shea Gilgeous-Alexander to when things are, up in flames or a freaking garbage, like a dumpster fire going on in the game, that he's able to calm things down and just close it out the way that I feel like the Thunder haven't had in such a long time. So I'm going to have to agree with the latter. I think it's more of the Thunder growing. Great comeback from the Mavericks, especially without Kyrie Irving in this game. But I think it's the Thunder. We have to give props to the Thunder for when all things are going bad. It's easy to fold here. We've seen even like veteran teams like the the old Wizards teams and stuff like fall to like the Clippers in these scenarios. So it's good to know that like a young Thunder team is able to bounce back there. So yeah, I would have to agree that at least the Thunder are growing into their own identity.
Yeah, I'm hyped about the Oklahoma City Thunder. Obviously, I've been on the bandwagon for a little while when it comes to SGA. But between them and the Orlando Magic, bro, it's just something really impressive going on this season with these young squads. And it's good to see the growth because this is where the parity comes from, right? This is where the competitive nature across the league comes from, is not necessarily the great teams being held back or coming back to the middle of the pack, but the young teams stepping up to the plate and meeting the great teams in the middle. And now we have this really great opportunity this year for for those two eras of teams to kind of collide. And that means there could be a lot of shifty change across the standings this year. A lot of difference in the standings than we've ever really seen in quite a long time.
Really, really impressive. Good win for the Thunder. Almost great comeback from the Mavs, though. Almost great. But here's my moment of the week, Jay. And I think this kind of counts because this happened because our episode released on a Tuesday, even though we recorded on a Monday. But this happened on the Monday night we recorded. The Denver Nuggets had to go up to the Clippers barn without Nikola Jokic, without Jamal Murray, without Aaron Gordon. And the Clippers had their healthy big four and Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard. And you know what happened? The Denver Nuggets got probably the best game of Reggie Jackson's career. Not just, just this season, not just over the last few years. We got arguably the best Reggie Jackson game of his career as he takes down his former team. 35 points, 13 assists, 15 for 19 from the field. That's like 78% from the field, 75% from three, 2 steals, only 2 turnovers, an absolute Reggie Jackson masterclass to take down the Clippers. And you know what? It wasn't just him. Let's bring on another LA Clipper to the party, DeAndre Jordan. Yes, he was still on the roster. He's still in the league. And he was able to take down his former team by having a 21-13 rebound performance, 5 assists. Like the Clippers were so afraid of him that they had to start doing a hack of DeAndre to take him out the game. For a team that is trying so hard to win, making every single move possible to make it far into the playoffs, this was one of the worst losses I've ever seen. And I mean ever. Like this is a team without their top 3 guys. And in this situation, you would expect Michael Porter to go off. No, this guy went 3 for 13. You would expect KCP to have a good game. Nope, 3 for 14. And it was freaking Reggie Jackson and DeAndre Jordan. I can't believe I had to say that sentence in freaking 2023, man. I couldn't believe it.
And that's the key note in 2023, right? This is Reggie Jackson, who, remember, Reggie Jackson was unplayable in the postseason, unplayable for most of the back half of last year for the Denver Nuggets, right? And ended up being kind of a quality signing on the back nine of a very kind of underwhelming free agency period, especially at the point guard position, right? So you can make an argument that outside of probably Fred VanVleet, who went for a pretty penny, and Dennis Schroeder, you could make an argument that in terms of backup guards to lead guard acquisitions this offseason, Reggie Jackson to the Denver Nuggets might have been the most quality pickup
Right.
aside from those other two that I named. That's crazy to think about when you think about the fact that guys like Marcus Smart was acquired this offseason via trade, or Derrick Rose, right? Guys like that were also, made their rounds. So that's really important. I think the thing about Denver is that they're not as deep this year as they were last year. And I know that seems weird with their main guy being Bruce Brown that they lost, but Bruce Brown opened a lot of roster flexibility for them that they don't necessarily have this season.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being the case, seeing guys like Reggie Jackson step up, or in lesser degree, obviously they do not expect this from DeAndre Jordan, like on even a semi-regular basis. But to be able to get these quality spurts when Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray are not on the floor, they also, like you mentioned, they were also missing Aaron Gordon. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's what makes them a viable championship caliber team. Because we've always said, or at least over the last 2 to 3 seasons, we've said they have the best starting five in the NBA from a continuity standpoint mixed with the overall talent. But if this is a team that can go 7 or 8 deep strong again with the talent we know they have in the starting five, they have a real chance to run the table again as a championship contender. So games like this just further instill that belief in a Denver Nuggets team that they can run it back because they are talented enough to do so.
100%. Yeah, I mean, you stole the words out of my mouth, but this also kind of gives me even less hope for the LA Clippers.
I was about to say, dude, how about that? I'll ask you about that. Like, obviously since then the Clippers have taken down the Golden State Warriors, right? It was that game-winning shot by Paul George to put them up 113 to 112.
Yeah, this
But
the other day too. Yeah.
yeah, but even with that being the case, like, have we come around any differently
Nope, not at all.
with the LA Clippers since the James Harden acquisition? Like, I know the start was bad. It's gotten a little bit better in terms of the actual productivity on the floor, not necessarily leading to wins across the board, but it's been better than the first 5 games for sure. But I don't know, man. I've seen a lot of iterations of this Clippers team, but this might be the most nervous I've ever been around an LA Clippers team that like had real notable talent and looked like they were supposed to at least make the playoffs. And this team feels like a play-in team.
Yeah. I mean, we knew that it was going to get better. It wasn't going to get worse than it did in the beginning. Let's be completely honest.
True. Fair.
But at the same time, I literally have no other like things to say that they've improved on. Yes, maybe James Harden's finally coming into his role a bit more, but at the same time, my feelings and thoughts have been changed since they acquired him, since, the 10 games or so that we did, and since we talked about them. Nothing has changed for me. I still don't feel confident in this roster. This is a whole topic for another show, but freaking Kawhi has not had a great start either. We
have not talked about that at all, but yeah, that is a good point too.
Yeah, but at the same time, I just until we see more, and until they've gone on a impressive enough run that garners us, a chance to talk about them again, I don't have any other more thoughts on this Clippers team until they show me more than what they have right now, because clearly this team's not ready for prime time.
Yeah.
100%. But yeah, those are our moments of the week. I'm looking at this freaking box score. I still can't believe Reggie Jackson and DeAndre Jordan killed their former team. This has to be one of the worst losses in Clippers history. I promise you. And the Clippers have had a pretty bad history, but still, let us know down below what you guys think. What is if we any thoughts on our moments of the week? Any of the topics we said before, all that good stuff. We are now gonna head up to the final topics of the show. We got the NBA draft, we got the quiz, and of course we're starting with the NBA draft. And for this draft, we're going to be trying to draft the best team of dunkers in NBA history. It's not a team to try and win against each other, but the team with the most flash, with the most flair, maybe the most powers, whatever you want to do. We're going to try to draft the best dunkers in NBA history. Jay, how do you feel about this draft?
Yeah, man, this one's different because we're not necessarily drafting for who's going to win in a game of 5-on-5. We're drafting a team for who's going to get the most 50 balls when they slam that ball through the rim. And I'm not going to lie to you, bro. I got a little roster in mind. So I came into this one pretty prepared, low-key. Let's see if the names shock the listeners as much as I hope to shock you.
This is going to be a good one. You know how this is going to go. Jay has the first pick. I get the next two, and we're going to run this serpentine style. So that means, Jay, you get the number 1 overall pick. You have the coveted position here because I feel like there's a few guys that you would really want to have here. Let's see who you got. Who you got as your number 1 pick?
All right, man. I'm going to go ahead and get the safe pick out the way. I'm going to get the guy that I feel like is the dude that if he doesn't make the list, it's egregious. So we'll go ahead and get that one out. We'll go ahead and get Mr. It's Over. Give me Vince Carter to start things off.
I like that. I like that. One dunk contest, one absolute show. Vince Carter was the obvious number 1 here. But I feel like we have an obvious number 2 as well. Jay, I'm going to go to your neck of the woods. Give me Zach LaVine.
Oh, I can't be mad at that one. That's a great pick.
I feel like when it comes to 50s in the dunk contest, you need someone who you know is not going to miss. Zach LaVine just doesn't miss in dunk contests.
True.
And he just does it with such fluidity. Like, I've never seen someone like dunk with such smoothness as Zach LaVine. So I'm going to get Zach LaVine with my next pick. And then to help improve this roster, we have a lot of flair in Zach LaVine. Let me go with some unbridled power from the wing position. Unconventional maybe, but the old heads. This is for you old heads. Give me Dominique Wilkins. You've seen this man's dunk highlights in the dunk contest. It's simple dunks when you look at it, but when you see the power, when you see the freaking like the whole the rim shaking and everything, Dominique just does that with such flair. He won a freaking dunk contest over MJ too. Remember that. So I'm gonna have Dominique Wilkins there. It's just like something about his dunk style is just so like mesmerizing to me, and I think we have the flair in Zach LaVine. Now we're gonna show them absolute power of Dominique. So then we have Dominique there.
Man, Dominique Wilkins is a good pickup.
Yeah.
Okay, first up, I'm gonna grab the guy who went toe to toe in probably one of the most controversial, but probably the last most entertaining dunk contest that we had. Give me my boy Aaron Gordon. They say allegedly he was robbed. I won't say that because Zach LaVine's my dog. But they say allegedly that he was robbed. But for me, I'm still gonna roll my guy Zach LaVine. But if there was anybody to go toe to toe with Zach LaVine comfortably, I think in this day and age, Aaron Gordon is probably the best guy I've seen that could probably hang with him. And then for my second pick, give me 2-time dunk contest winner. You talk about old heads. Give me Jason Richardson. 02 and 02 and 03 NBA dunk contest winner. He also competed in the 04 dunk contest, and I think he lost just barely. I think it was to Fred Jones.
Fred Jones.
Winning it. This is a guy who not only gets 50 balls out the wazoo, but he's a dude who came back to protect his throne year after year after year until he ended up losing, right? It took 3 runs at it before anybody could step in his way, and every single season he came back. That's not something that's common within the NBA landscape anymore. We see a different run-up, a different lineup every single year. Nobody comes back to defend the crown in the dunk contest. Jason Richardson did it 3 times and went 2-1 in his run before he started obviously focusing on bigger fish in terms of making runs, for NBA playoffs and stuff like that. Like real runs to NBA playoffs, I guess. But Jason Richardson, one of the most electric dunkers of the early 2000s and a real dunk champion to me.
Yeah, it's a really good pick. His dunk contest performance is very, very underrated. Love that pickup with Jay Rich. My next 2 guys, Jay, we're both 2K fans, right?
Of course.
We're both 2K fans. And I think that this guy, he had a pretty good dunk contest showing, but I'm purely picking him because this guy has probably some of the best bunnies on this entire short list that we have. Give me Gerald Green.
Dang it, bro. Oh, my God.
Gerald Green. Bro, just look at the freaking in-game dunk contest, like his in-game dunk compilation. This guy's head was above the rim on a good chunk of those. He does it so effortlessly. Give me Gerald Green over there just on pure bunnies alone. And then give me Superman is in the building.
Oh,
Let me
buddy.
go with Dwight Howard. I mean, we have some like wings in there. I want to get a good mix. Let me show some big men some love. Give me Dwight Howard. This guy, like, yes, he was a big man, but this guy had put on a ridiculous dunk contest back in the day. So I'm gonna put on Dwight Howard. He's gonna be on my list.
Fair enough. I think the last two guys I'm gonna go with, I'm gonna go unconventional. I mentioned multi-time dunk contest winners. Obviously, we have a few so far already in this lineup that we have. Uh, with Jason Richardson, obviously you have both Dominique Wilkins and Zach LaVine who both won it twice. So we've got three guys who won it twice. I'm gonna add one more. Give me Nate Robinson.
Like that.
Yeah, man. Give me Nate Robinson as my fourth pick. And then for my fifth, again, I'm going to go unconventional. I don't necessarily know if this gets you a 50, but it sure as heck gets you a charge. That's for sure. I'm going to go with somebody who should be locked away 20 years for murder, specifically one that still is relatively infamous to this day. Give me DeAndre Jordan.
Oh God,
as my final pickup. And this is because to this day, this man still has the most disrespectful dunk we've seen, maybe in NBA history, with his dunk on Brandon Knight that I think legitimately might have ended his career. Like, I'm gonna be real. Like, I don't think that dude has been viewed as a quality NBA caliber player since that happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
That's a good one. That's a good one. I'm gonna go with my final pick here, and I'm gonna go with someone who maybe recency bias might get to me here, but someone as such a small height being able to go to the rim and just do like a plethora of dunks. You have Nate Robinson. I'm gonna go with someone a little bit more recent, actually a lot more recent, just because I feel like him at like a guard position could just do a lot more in terms of has like a large dunk package. You know what? Just give me Mac McClung. Honestly, I really like the dunk pack, just like the dunk packages that he has, the 540 that he was able to do in the last dunk contest. I feel like if you want a small guy, you want someone that has a bit more of a bag in terms of dunks. So let me end it off with Mac McClung. Jay, best dunkers draft. Who is your five that you're gonna take and try to win this so-called dunk battle?
all right. So in a dunk battle, my top five dunkers that I'm going to war with is going to be Vince Carter, Aaron Gordon, Jason Richardson, Nate Robinson, and DeAndre Jordan.
It's a sick mix. It's a sick mix of players. All right. My top five. Give me Zach LaVine, Dominique Wilkins. Give me Dwight Howard. Give me Gerald Green. And give me Mac McClung.
That Gerald Green one is slick, boy. I ain't gonna lie. That's a low key pull. Like, we did this in honor of Terrence Ross, but Gerald Green is one of them. He's one of them ones, dude. Oh man.
Yeah. I mean, let us know down below who you think has the best five in terms of these dunk contests. We have some damn good teams. We have the return of the LaVine Aaron Gordon battle as well. So it's a pretty damn good contest. So let us know down below which team who you think is gonna win in a imaginary dunk battle. But like Jay said, we did this draft in honor of a certain retirement, which was Terrence Ross, who announced his retirement. Funnily enough, was it on Twitch or was it on
I think so.
podcast or something like that? Whatever it was. Terrence Ross is finally retired. He got drafted in 2012. Had a pretty good long 10-year career. Member of my Toronto Raptors. Big fan of him when he was over here. Orlando Magic was with the Phoenix Suns last year. Had a pretty good long career. Was an absolute bucket, but in his time he decided to hang up his sneakers and wants to be a family man. You can't hate on that. So we did that draft because he was, again, one of the better dunkers in the last 10 years. But we're going to continue to honor him in this quiz because, Jay, I mentioned the teams that he's played with. He's played for the Suns. He's played for the Magic. He's played for the Raptors. We've done this quiz before. We're gonna lean into it again. Let's go through the top 10 guys that have played with Terrence Ross throughout his entire career.
Whoa.
They're all pretty current, so I think you're going to be able to knock these out. But let's see if you're able to do it.
So this is the guys who have played the most games with him.
The most games with Terrence Ross, yes.
All right.
2013 to 2023 his career. So there's like a I don't think it should be super difficult, but if you know like the Raptors and like Magic team especially from those times, you can knock these out.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So what's that like? Nikola Vucevic,
Vucevic is number 6 on this list, 230 games.
Aaron Gordon,
Aaron Gordon is number 9 on this list, 208 games.
Evan Fournier.
Evan Fournier, number 8 on this list, 222 games.
Magic team. DJ Augustine.
Just cracks the list at number 10, 194 games.
Big buckets. Who else was expunged from that team? Lord have mercy. I feel like I'm missing somebody. No, I named all 3 guys that were like the main trade pieces when they hauled everybody.
You basically have one more Magic dude and the rest are the Raptors.
Did he play with Dwight Howard?
No, he did not. No.
He did not? Okay.
He is a center, though. This last Magic guy is a center.
Oh. Okay. Wow, I was going to say something crazy like a Mecca Okafor, but that's Charlotte. Yeah. We'll come back to that one.
Yeah.
What about like Kyle Lowry?
Number 1 on this list, 359.
Cool. That means DeMar DeRozan has to be here.
Number 2 on this list, 358.
Oh man, who else were on those? What about like Lou Williams?
Not Lou Will. No, I think Lou Will only played 1 year on that team, so no.
Yeah, true.
What about the rest of these guys on this list are bigs, like power forward centers.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to think of like. See, center is such a weird position for you guys because you guys haven't really had like a true center in a while.
Yeah. But this guy at number 3 was definitely a true center, and he was a staple of this Raptors teams before the championship.
Valanciunas?
Number 3, Jonas Valanciunas, 343 games.
Cool. Who else are we missing? I mean, he's played on other teams besides those 2, but those are the 2 that clearly define.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm surprised he's only played for 3 teams. He's only played for the Suns as well. That's the only other team he's played for. And that was
true.
Yeah.
2
more Raptors and a Orlando Magic.
What about? I think he played. Ironically, this guy played for both of those teams, so this is a completely different quiz. But like, what about like Bismack?
Unfortunately, number 11.
Dang! Oh my
games.
gosh, bro.
Number 11.
What about like? Is it jokes to call him New York Knicks legend? Oh, sorry. That's Andre Bargnani.
Oh gosh, no. No.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that jacked up to call him New York Knicks legend?
No. The 3 last guys, one of the Raptors is a stretch 4. He probably has had his most games with the Raptors. Played for the Rockets. Also, like I think ended off his career with the Clippers.
Okay.
Yeah, he was like a prototypical stretch 4.
Stretch 4. Okay, so that means like it wouldn't be like. I'm trying to think of like guys that I've seen in like Toronto jerseys. Shoot.
Yeah.
What about? It's not really a stretch 4, but like, what about like Greg Monroe?
No, he played like half a season for the Raptors. This guy was like a staple of like he was always on those playoff teams. What else? I mean, I guess he played with the Rockets. His initials are PP.
Oh, Patrick Patterson.
Patrick Patterson.
Oh wow! I didn't. You think he's a stretch 4? I guess he kind of is.
Yeah,
he kind of is.
268 games played with Patrick Patterson. Funnily enough, he's the he's the one with the highest win percentage out of anyone on this list who played with Terrence.
What the heck?
So,
Anyway, what
so
the
like, I mean, at least the both of them together, had a 62% win percentage with Patrick Patterson, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, here we go. We have another Toronto Raptor. I would consider him like a low-key Raptor legend just because he's like a part of the teams. He's a bit of a hustling type of guy. Ended off his career with the Philadelphia 76ers, but he's like a face that's like synonymous with the Raptors. But he was in the front court there with Jonas Valanciunas for a lot of years. Doesn't do anything really particularly well, but he hustles hard.
He was in the front court with Jonas Valanciunas. Dang, I feel like I'm like running out of dudes.
He's not really a memorable basketball player unless you're a Raptor fan, but he played there for like 4 or 5 years.
Marcus Camby?
No, that was way before. That was like the year 2000.
Oh, okay, I was gonna say I felt like that was a pool, but I'm like,
this guy's initials is AJ, if that helps anyway.
AJ? Do I know any AJ for Toronto? That's tough because I don't feel like I know any that come to mind. How many guys am I missing?
You're missing one more guy. The other guy, if I give you this, and it's really easy. He's like, you don't really like expect him to be on this list because like he's still kind of considered a young guy, but he like just left the Magic probably a year and a half ago, and he's been on like 2 sort of contending teams over the last 2 years. I don't think he gets minutes for his current team right now. He's a center. He's like pretty much like connected to the Orlando organization. It's like one of those like centers where like you're trying to figure out whether he's part of their future or not for the longest time, and they end up just cutting ties with him.
What? And he plays center too?
Yeah.
And this is recent, you said.
Yeah, he's more known for stuff outside of basketball, not even in the sports.
Good or bad?
He's just like he's like something is named after him. I will say that. A certain form of art is named after him.
A certain form of art?
It's a type of art that you're gonna have to be listening to some Kids Bop of. It's a certain that type of art. He has a song named after him.
I don't really know what that means in this case.
It's a song named after him.
And this is a younger guy?
Yeah, I mean he's more known for the song than he is being an actual basketball player. But he played like
Mo Bamba.
Mo Bamba.
Oh Lord.
Number 8 on this list. Played how many games with Terrence Ross? He played 230. So you're missing just the Raptor guy. I don't know what else to give you as a hint for him. Has a pretty puffy beard, pretty puffy beard in this picture. Again, didn't do anything particularly well. I'll just give it to you. Have you heard of an Amir Johnson?
Oh, I thought I said that one, but maybe I was just thinking it and I didn't say that one out loud. But yeah, Amir Johnson's a good one.
Yeah, Amir,
that's a good one.
He's the
I thought he played power forward. That might have also tricked me.
Yeah, he played power forward for the Raptors. Was there for, again, a long time, but again, just really didn't have much success. But absolute legend over there. So that is the list of players that played with T. Ross most in his career. Congratulations on the retirement. Hopefully he does well over there. And we've reached another end of another fantastic episode. Thank you guys for watching. Jay, what do you have to tell these beautiful people before we sign out?
Yeah, man. Expect a very thorough review of the Kids Bop album on Wednesday's episode of the podcast. I don't know if I'll actually be live streaming this or not necessarily, but I will at least make sure that I hold my end of the bargain by doing that much by Wednesday. And beyond just the forfeit, man, I'm just really excited for the way this NBA season is going, the way the in-season tournament has been, and now the fact that we're going into the knockout stage, right? It makes these games matter a lot more. I'm going to be really dialed into tonight's game. There's obviously another set of them Tuesday when this episode actually will be coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, man, I'm locked in. I'm enjoying everything about the NBA season. And although things have been really ramped up so far, I think that, like TV said earlier on, when we pass the threshold of December 15th, where guys become even more eligible for trades,
Yeah.
that's when things are gonna really get crazy.
100%. And you know where to follow all of this stuff over here on the Hit Your Free Throws NBA podcast. You know, he might not be doing, the forfeit on a live stream, but you just be for sure there's going to be some sort of content coming out of this. So you're going to definitely see something with him listening to some Kids Bop. He's going to really enjoy it. But yeah, this is a fantastic episode. Remember to support our individual projects down in the description below. The Hit Your Free Throws Instagram and TikTok for the best daily media content. YouTube, podcast networks, all that good stuff where you can find the Hit Your Free Throws podcast. And yeah, another fantastic episode. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you have a fantastic day. Take it easy, guys. This is TV and J signing out.
Peace.